these are really, really, really key pieces for ICP's strategic future. So, boy, if we're both wrong on
Round
round
one.
one, it's gonna be a problem. Welcome to the Neurotic Podcast, the Internet Computer Podcast with Jesse and Kyle. This is episode 11. Happy episode 11, Kyle. How you doing?
Good. I'm really looking forward to this. It's gonna be a nice, fun style episode.
Right? We got something a little special planned for today, which I'm pretty excited about. We are going to do a draft of predictions. So we're getting a little competitive up here. We are on opposing sides. We are playing by kickball rules, schoolyard kickball rules, which means I assume I will be picked last and I will lose.
Oh,
So we have here's the rules for our draft today. You and I have made up a list of like 20 or 30 or so different predictions for things that we think could happen in year 2 of the Internet Computer. We will take turns picking in each round. We'll do 6 rounds. We'll discuss sort of why we picked or didn't pick each one, offer some friendly competitive advice to our compatriot across the aisle here on if we thought that was a good pick or not. And then 1 year from now, we will score our predictions and crown a ICP draft champion.
Ooh, I think winner should get a Jason and Kyle pod taco from the loser.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
Can we put those stakes? Can we put stakes on it?
Yeah, man, I would take that bet. I like a little skin in the game, you know. So, yeah, winner gets an ultra rare. Maybe I should go out and pick up a few more so I don't have to give up my favorite one. No, I've got that one I've got up on the market trolling you. I'd be willing to risk that one if I had to.
A 39 ICP.
Yeah, it's weird. No one's bought that yet. No one's bought that yet.
It's taking time. People got to get their loan. They got to get the loan into the bank to get it.
All right. So welcome. So all right. So 6 rounds. We'll each take picks. Are you
Sure.
Are you ready? How you feeling going into this? Are you give me your pregame talk. How are things looking? What's your strategy?
I've got my, so we're at 6 rounds. So I picked 10 predictions because I'm pretty sure you're going to flop on a couple of predictions. So I only really need to have 10 to make sure that I can get all the good ones in. But yeah, no, I'm feeling good. I think I'm set.
If I want someone to tell me that I'm going to fail, I can just call my parents. Okay, I don't need that attitude from you here. All right. All right. So welcome to the official Neurotic Year 2 draft. Let's we'll put in a little music right here. A little draft theme music is now playing in the background. Are you gonna whistle some theme music for us here?
No, I'll save you guys.
All right, so we're gonna flip a coin to get to see who goes first. I'm gonna flip. I got a nickel picked out here.
Ooh.
Kyle, you're gonna call it in the air.
Heads.
Okay, you're gonna go heads.
I gotta wait. Here it goes.
Heads? You want heads? All right,
I got heads.
Go. Tails, I'm afraid.
Okay, all right.
Hold on, let me show you. Show the camera. There. Tails. Yeah, you can see it.
All right.
It's
sure.
tails. Excellent. All right. Finally, I win. Excellent.
it's already over. Game over.
All right. I'm gonna go with from our list. You know what? I'm gonna go with a boring pick because I want to win. I want to win real bad. I want to shove your face in it like a puppy that's peed somewhere it hasn't when I show you the final scorecard. So I'm gonna go with Bitcoin integration mainnet launches in year 2. We're right. We're really, really close. I can taste it. I see those. Manu is posting, like every other day updates as the ICP system ingests Bitcoin entire blockchain into it and eats it whole. And I think, part of it is a lot of it is me betting on what are the strategic must-have tools that are going into year 2. And that's why I've chosen Bitcoin. So I think that's a little bit of a gimme because it's so close, but you never know with software release dates. It's never done until it's done. And so that's my prediction is Bitcoin integration mainnet will launch.
Yeah, it does seem like the technical risks are pretty minimal at this point, given that the testnet has been running and ingesting all the Bitcoin ledger. So that's a good pick. That's a solid first pick of the draft. I'm going to stick with the solid pick and just kind of pick the parallel to that, which is that the SNS mainnet will launch. I think that that's pretty locked in stone as well. I've heard a lot of chatter about pretty detailed design that makes me think that they're that Definity is pretty far along in terms of developing the code and testing it. And it again, we've got we're at the very beginning of year two, so 12 months to deliver something that they're planning on delivering maybe in I don't know. I think actually the last it was still Q2 was the forecast, and I haven't heard any change from that. So that gives them Q3, Q4, and Q1 of next year for me to get this pick right. So safe bet there.
Excellent. I like that. Actually, that was my number one and number two picks right there. And
Hmm.
I chose the Bitcoin integration because I was like, well, it's a little farther along. Last I heard that someone put like a number on how far along SNS was an estimate of like 60 to 70% done. But I
Hmm.
completely agree that SNS integration is so incredibly important from a strategic perspective in terms of getting all of the token standards locked in, the ability to bring DEXs online, the ability to create plug and play DAO like operations. These are really, really, really key pieces for ICP's strategic future. So, boy, if we're both wrong on
Round
round
one.
one, it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, no, I think we got the two easy ones off the plate here, and then so it's gonna be interesting what you pick now for round two.
Now I've got my safe choices out of the way, and now I'm feeling a little more daring, a little more aggressive. I've got this Luna attack and the Terra work stuff
Whoa!
on my brain, that happened this week. So I'm gonna go with ICP defends against a major outside attack successfully. So that is my prediction is that as the
Wow.
internet computer raises in importance and prominence and dollar value across the board, what we're going to see is the I just saw you pasted in and you've got it highlighted red, which makes me think you were like absolutely not going to pick. You like rejected that. You're
I'm
like,
just
no.
I'm so looking forward to you stop talking right now, so I can tell you why that was a horrible pick.
All right. So I mean, it's worth, how do you know if it defended against a major attack? I think
Exactly.
maybe one of the questions. Well, you can take the flip side, which is ICP succumbs to an attack. An attack is successful on ICP, but I think there will be. I think as it raises in prominence, it will attract that kind of activity. And I think we talk a lot about how secure the internet computer is, and I think it being tested in a real way is in its future.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have gone with that pick, only because I think if they do defend against a serious attack, we probably won't know about it.
Hmm.
Just because of from a security standpoint, you usually don't advertise your vulnerabilities unless you're certain that you have cleared the vulnerability and eliminated the risk. So, anyways,
All right,
that was a pick, and
that was a
congratulations
pick.
on using up that in the second round there. Okay.
It's a long draft, Kyle. You gotta buckle up for the ride here.
You know what I'm gonna go with is 10 plus named neurons by year three,
Ooh,
right?
nice choice.
So my rationale there is we are um, already up to five, right? We've got Definity, ICA, ICPMN, IC Devs, and CycleDAO. We know that Fool's Court is planning on doing a named neuron. We've had Levi Feldman try to get his passed, and there's just a lot of attention on this. So getting another five within the next year seems really doable. And if nothing else, maybe I will just submit five proposals for Kyle 1, Kyle 2, Kyle 3, Kyle 4, Kyle 5, just so I can win this bet.
Wow. Well, I look forward to you being excommunicated out of the ICP-MN voting neuron for that kind of spam attacking the name neurons to win a draft. That's I appreciate the hustle. I really like the
Mhm.
hustle, but yeah, I feel like I'm getting a real idea of what kind of sportsmanship the Kyle engages on here, which
For
is
it,
one of
but it's a Jason and Kyle pod taco, so I
right,
mean,
right.
all's fair in love and war.
Yeah, well, Jason doesn't play by the rules, but Jesse lives by a real code of honor when it comes to these things. So you gotta.
All right. I'll clarify. I won't submit 10 plus named neurons. None of them submitted by me. There we go.
Ooh,
There we go.
ooh. Oh
I
man,
feel
when it's
confident,
just
right?
9 neurons, it's gonna be real entertaining then.
I
You're like,
know.
"Oh, so close." 10 plus named neurons,
Can I
parentheses,
edit
none
an
of them named Kyle.
Did you add that in?
Yeah, yeah, that's in your
Oh, there we go.
official
Yep.
draft selection.
All right, what do you
Alright,
got now? Round 3.
round 3. Now you're making me think I should be a little more, now I'm deleting from my list, and boy, my list of selections has rapidly shrunk very, very quickly.
Uh-oh.
Let's see. I've got a couple more. I think I'm gonna stick on this SNS train here. I'm liking SNS, and as we said, I think it's so strategically important. Let's go with Discover is going to launch a product that utilizes the SNS because I want it. Now I'm kind of wish casting, just a little bit because I want it for myself is what's happening here. So maybe
Hmm.
if I choose it, that will help will it into existence. So Discover obviously, sort of started life as a Reddit clone rebuilt on the internet computer. I'm actually using Discover as my backend. We're moving the tacos community off of Discord and onto Discover and NFT gating there. And I know you're looking at Discover for some of the stuff with your NFT analysis structure as well. And so that's on their roadmap. But this is where the drafts get in a problem where there's sort of like a little bit of like a domino effect where it's like, oh, if the SNS doesn't go, none of my
Hmm.
picks are going to go now is the danger here.
Yeah, I guess I mean from my perspective, it seems like the only reason why that pick wouldn't pass is just if it takes Discover too long. It takes them more than till next May to deliver a product, to actually launch a product. But we know the SNS should launch soon, and um, Discover has plans on using it. So I think that's a very solid pick, Jesse.
Software always ships on time and is
Yeah.
never late. So I don't see how that could ever come back how that could come back to bite me. I don't think there's much of a chance of that.
I think so for round 3. Oh, I'm kind of there's two on here that I really want to kind of get into. But I'm going to stick with NNS app gets a UI redesign or visual refresh.
Ooh,
I think there's been a
ooh.
little bit of attention on there. I have a feeling once the SNS launches, that might free up some resources within Definity to kind of go back and look at the NNS. And there's been a lot of ideas in the forum recently that have talked about changes to the UI for various functionality. So it seems to me that it should be it it depends. I guess like if they add a slider to do XYZ, I'm assuming that that would pass in this language, right?
No, I tried. So my goal with the language, and
Oh,
we can tweak it here. My goal with the language was a UI
a
redesign or
redesign. Okay,
visual refresh. So I want to see even if there isn't a full functionality rewrite, like the pixels need to change.
got it.
So just adding a slider to me does not qualify here.
Okay,
So
okay. Okay. Well, I've already made the pick, but I'll
Well,
say,
here, so let's dig into it a little bit here. So because I was actually just talking on Twitter with Diego about this as well. So
hmm,
they are currently rewriting the entirety of the NNS application, but they are rewriting it in they're switching. It was built in one language, and they're switching to another language for the actual execution of it. And then that is being done with no visual refresh and no upgrade. So they're doing a feature for feature port to this new system. But as
uh,
that new system comes online, that will then allow them to bring these new features online and add new functionality. So the danger here is they have announced there is definitely work happening. It's happening right now. It is going, but they have been very clear that what they're doing now is not a
it's not
visual
going to get me
refresh,
this.
but it will open the door to a visual refresh down the road. However, as has been discussed, software always ships on time, and things are always done when they're supposed to be. So I don't see why this will be a problem for you.
Well, I'm feeling less confident about this than I did just 3 minutes ago. But okay, I'll stick by it. That's my round 3 pick.
I like it. All right, I'm gonna go. Let's do a little drama on the in the boardroom here. I
Oh
predict a
no.
C-level exec will depart Definity. So I think it's just that time. Definity as an organization's 4 or 5 years old now, and this is kind of that moment where shaking things up at the top level is often a good and healthy thing for an organization like Definity to do. And so it is, I think, they just brought on, they just had a new hire that joined as their chief growth officer. And so that's a change there that I think we're all really excited about to see what she brings to growing the platform. Fresh blood, new energy. I'm not signaling out any particular person. I don't really know who would be most likely even to go. But I think it's sort of that time for an organization like this to have a little bit of churn at the top to invigorate some new ideas and some new approaches. And I think it could be a good thing, just in terms of making news and making space for new ideas.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid pick. And not even it doesn't even have to be Definity really. I mean, for this bet, obviously it has to be a Definity person. But I think that's going to just be true throughout the crypto economy because when you're an executive, usually a lot of your compensation is geared towards equity, or
Hmm.
in this case, more tokens. And so if you've had a large drop in the token price throughout your tenure, usually it makes um, financial sense to switch to another coin because then you're basically or another company because then you're basically getting a new equity package and you're kind of getting to reset your incentive level at a lower price, so that means there's a lot more upside. So I think just in crypto in general with the last couple of weeks, that's probably you're going to see in the next few months. If we continue to see low prices, you'll see executives kind of move from one chain to the other, and it seems like we're probably in a consolidation period within crypto. So a lot of altcoins that are kind of competing in the same space are either going to um, flounder and go away or consolidate and merge together. So it does seem like there'll probably be a lot of C-suite moves in the industry in general, which may affect Definity. So I think that's a pretty solid pick, Jesse.
I wish everyone well. I think it's important to mention now that there is no golden parachute for leaving your leadership position on the Neurotic podcast. That if you decide that you want to go out and try your go strike it out on your own and go it without me, we don't have any sort of compensation to give you on the way out. There's no bitter pill in your
Oh,
contract to for this podcast.
I don't
So
I don't get to like keep my 100 million neurotic tokens.
I mean, you definitely do, but,
Just
those are yours to do with what you want.
we should do an SNS token for our podcast. We got to let's brainstorm. Hey, maybe the community can brainstorm some ideas on how we could use the SNS for this podcast to make it a little bit more dog food.
I'm writing in neurotic token launches for your 4th round pick,
Is that?
right now because I think it'll be very easy for me to sabotage that,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
things
that's true.
considered. That I'm sorry, Kyle. I just don't think we're ready to launch this token until I'm
May
thinking like
11th.
a day, May 11th. That is to me the Taco Tuesday of neurotic token launches.
Yeah, yeah. Can't get ready. I won't sign any documents until that day. All
Now,
right.
Kyle,
Well,
I'm not telling you what to pick, but there is some Kyle bait in these selections here. There is some Kyle data analysis bait
yeah.
in these selections, and you haven't taken you're a smart fish and you haven't
I
taken any of that bait yet, but maybe I feel like you should.
I feel like you're pressure. No, no, no. I'm gonna. There's one more real solid one that I'm gonna go with, and that is top floor price for an IC NFT at the start of year three is Bitcoin flowers. That seems pretty
Ooh.
safe, in my opinion. It's already the top floor by hundreds of ICP. Right.
Mhm.
What's next is OG
Taco
Metals
tacos, I'm pretty
tacos.
sure is
I,
yeah, probably poked bot or Motokos is next
Tokos, I
after
think, were
that,
like
I'm sure.
30 ICP. Yeah, so well, or maybe there was like Definity deck, which was a mint of like 50 or 52 because it was cards. But anyways, Bitcoin Flower. Oh, now that I'm saying this though, what if somebody just does a mint of like two or three?
This is my question is do those I'd be willing to um let's say of a collection with a minimum of 50 items. That way Definity Deck still sneaks in there.
Still
How's
sneaks
that?
in.
How's that?
Okay,
How's
okay,
that?
that's
Does that
that's
hedge your
safer.
bet?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
hedges your bet? All right, let me.
Um, yeah, but I think, you already have so Bitcoin flowers, they have the ICP flower drop later on, in the year, and so that maybe might draw the price down a little bit because, once you airdrop those ICP flowers, people who are holding just for those ICP flowers now, might wanna get rid of the Bitcoin flower. But then again, like we saw that with the ETH flowers for a few weeks, right? Basically the floor price of Bitcoin flowers came down to the floor price came down such that the floor price of the ETH flowers plus the Bitcoin flowers equaled the previous Bitcoin floor price. And so maybe we see that with ICP flowers, which might be pretty hot. I certainly want one. But I still feel pretty confident. It's hard. It's hard to get a triple digit floor price. So I'm feeling okay with this pick.
I see 2, like, lines of thinking that I both, when think about them, seem so very true and obvious to me, but are both opposites at the same time, which is, I mean, Bitcoin Flower, fantastic collection, great art, really strong leadership, really smart leadership. Flower DAO, has been just incredibly effective, both in terms of marketing and community building, and they are so far out ahead that it seems inconceivable that they're going to lose that first place pole position that they have right now. But on the other hand, saying out loud, yes, I don't think the top spot is going to change in a year also sounds
Yeah,
insane.
yeah.
Like, that sounds totally unlikely. So, all right, you have inspired me, Kyle.
Ooh.
You have inspired me for my next pick. I am going to go for my 5th round pick. We're just God, I'm so sad that I'm getting to the end of the rounds here. I'm going to choose that a new blue cheap NFT collection emerges on the ICP, one that is not related to an existing collection. And so we
Mm,
put that little proviso on there. So ICP flower, for example, doesn't count because it's a spinoff of
right.
an it has to be, it can be done by an existing team or something like that, but it does need to be a wholly new original collection, not a
I see.
sequel to an existing. So if the hottest new is season 2 of the ICP analysis NFT,
Mhm.
that won't count because it's
Oh,
season
I see.
2,
Okay,
and so it
okay.
has to be a wholly original entry, emerges and cements. It doesn't have to be the number one, but there is an agreed upon. We both agree this has successfully joined the ranks of the Matokos, the poked bots,
Right.
the flowers, those
Maybe
blue
just to
chips.
get it a little bit more measurable, we make it, like it's, a collection that gets into the top 5 in total
Yeah.
transaction
Yep.
for year 2 maybe? So, I mean, really, if you're getting to, like, 100K ICP in transactions, that's probably when you're a blue chip.
I
Like,
think
I
I think
wonder
so too.
yeah, I would assume it's just flowers, poked, and Matokos that have reached the 100,000 K ICP mark. So yeah, so that's
It's
maybe.
possible. What about the clowns? Those guys have been kicking around for a
Oh, the
while, and
punks.
there's
Yeah,
been a
that's
lot of
right. Let's see.
activity. I
There is a
wouldn't I
way to
wouldn't
find this
totally
out.
rule it out.
So
Off to
yeah,
NFT Geek we
that
go.
for a fifth, I'm going on Entropot because they show it in their marketplace thing. Um, for a fifth round pick, I'm thinking this is a really strong pick, Jesse.
I'm I'm
Uh,
I'm I'm feeling pretty well. I want, I'm torn between my desire to smash your face in with my score and just dominate you in a way that I'm never able to in real life sports as a pudgy kid. Against my desire to wish cast what I want to see happen and just be like really project everything going to the moon, too.
yeah.
We haven't speaking of going to the moon, no price predictions have come out
Right.
yet.
Well, the ones we
Maybe
picked
we'll have to come up with a little price prediction extra
after.
game.
So
Ooh,
so
I
let's
haven't
do let's do that for like
maybe a
over
little
under.
prices. We'll do an over under. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, all right, we'll come back to that. All right,
Let's do
let's
that.
do fifth
So
round here. Let's go.
by the way, just for your pick, so there's only been 3 collections that have got over 100K. The punks have 75K ICP in transactions. So I would think for your pick, anything in the top 5 and or anything that gets over 100K. So a new
Yeah.
collection that gets over 100K this year definitely is, I would consider that blue chip.
All right. Blue chip top 5 and or 100K. So 80K would qualify as long as there isn't enough other things above it to push it out of that top 5.
Mhm.
So, but also top 5, yeah. But if also everything If it's number 6 but over 100, that would also
Right.
qualify. Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
right. So if yeah, so basically that's if like there's a giant bull market, and or let's say the original collections get to just be highly valued, and so that
Yeah.
might price you out of the top 5, but yet you have a really strong collection. I think that
I'm
would
looking
count. So
forward to a year from now having to clip this conversation out of this episode into our future episode to
just
prove
to
that I have either won or lost based on this exact detailed ruling. Because I was saying, when it comes to a year from now, we're going to both of us will sitting here and being like, why did we word it this
this
way
way, yeah, yeah.
exactly? This seems this seems difficult now.
So do you want to cover because we talked about this before, if we had a disagreement a year from now on whether or not somebody won, how we're going to handle that?
So we will pick an official judge adjudicator. I haven't lined that up today because a year from now to ask for that commitment seems tough. But we will
Yeah.
pick a third party adjudicator, someone that can be trusted, to be fair and even handed. A Wenzel type character. Maybe Dom will be available. I'll have to check with his assistant to see what his. But we will pick we'll pick someone that a Bob Bodley type,
Yeah.
one of
Somebody in the
these
community.
someone in the community that you haven't yet bought off and bribed for Kyle Corp
Oh, those
to
people don't exist. I've
not
I've
yet.
I've, bri- I've bribed them
It's a
all.
long
I've
year.
bribed them all. All right, so here's what I'm going with: acquisition of a major independent project hosted on ICP by an outside company. So this would be like,
This was a
yeah,
Jesse
you put this
special
in
on
there,
the
and I
list.
was
I like
like,
that. I like
at first I thought it was silly, but then as I thought about it more, I was like, actually, no, this is really smart. So two things. Um, it seems like Web 2 may want to get more involved into Web 3, and an
Mhm.
acquisition might be the way to do it. So, maybe there could be somebody who wants to compete with Reddit, and they're like, hey, Discover, like, we would love to kind of take you over.
Yep.
Um, or even maybe one of the, so like you can imagine like a tagger getting bought out. Although I don't know if that would count yet as a major independent project yet. But anyways, I could see.
If Facebook buys Tagger, it would count. It can
Okay.
become into major just by merit of its acquisition.
But it
But I
got
think
it got acquired by a major
so an
player. So
important so an important proviso that I want to make sure is kind of baked in here is that getting acquired by psychedelic doesn't count. That's kind of
yeah, yeah.
basically what I wanted to say. That if you join up, that an outside company, meaning a
Right.
non-internet computer, or it doesn't necessarily have to be non-internet computer, because I could also see, I'm just going to make something up. Let's say Origin Protocol acquires Canistor, or
Mhm.
something like that, like some sort of bigger kind of piece, not just joining up with psychedelic, not you know um CCC merging into Entrepot or something like that. That's
Right,
not what
right,
I
right.
mean. I mean a real power shift happens
Yep.
in terms of signaling a new kind of era of acquisition and money flowing into the space is what
Yeah.
I'm looking to see here.
So I think it's also likely, or at least possible. Well, we're getting into the fifth round, so just if it's possible, I think that's good enough for picks. Yeah, but probably likely because also, again, going back to that idea, I imagine the next 12 months are going to be a period of consolidation within crypto markets in general. And so that should just be not just coins and tokens, but consolidating on products built on those platforms. And so I don't know, I could see, um, yeah, I could see outside companies, even Web3 companies that aren't associated with ICP, coming in and trying to get a footprint into ICP quickly, to shore up their own leaking holes in a consolidation market. So that's my pick round 5.
I like it. All right. For round 6, I am channeling my inner Kyle, and I'm asking what would Kyle pick for this? And that's what I want to do. I want to snipe out a Kyle choice. I am going with more ICP is staked on the NNS than dissolves in year 2. If you can pick
Ooh.
a prediction I wrote, I'm going to pick what Kyle pick. So, Kyle, tell me about my pick. Tell me why I picked this.
That was my bait. I put it on there just to get you to pick it.
I
No,
don't think
you
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 did. I
tell
think
me.
you wrote
Why
I
why
think
did
you wrote I think you wrote that for yourself. I want to be, it's round 6 and I want to be bullish.
Okay.
I think the NNS and its staking system is incredibly clever. I have been celebrating the official exit of Zone 2 all week as
Mhm.
you've been marking it on Twitter. And we're entering a period where a lot of those early staking neurons are starting to burn out their dissolving, right? And they're restaking
Hmm.
or, any number of things. But what we're not seeing is they're not restaking for 6 months and dissolving and things like that.
Yeah.
We're not seeing that at all. So I think the NNS is kind of the beating heart of the internet computer. It is the system at the core that really makes this thing go, and it is what provides the sort of tokenomic structure for the entire thing. So it's go time for the NNS to really do something good for the system here and work. And so if it is, it could be kind of running kind of almost level, but I think seeing an increase in burning and seeing an increase in staking and seeing, the system kind of go where we want it to go, this is a good health indicator that the functions are working and all the pieces are kind of together. So
Mm,
if we miss this mark, I guess it would be a kind of a bit of a reason for concern as well.
I gotcha. Yeah. So for context, and this is all off the top of my head, so don't quote or make investment decisions off of this. But I want to say you're going to average about 3.5 million ICP dissolving every month. So
Hmm.
you're looking to get 3.5 million or more on average for the next 12 months coming back onto the IC. And that seems reasonable because like January, we had over 5 million tokens staked. In I mean, gosh, on December 31st, we had like 30 or 40 million token stakes. So that in of itself might, if the same thing happens this next December 31st, you're golden. But then also, it seems likely too that if the tax changes to the NNS, where there's a whole staked maturity, if that functionality goes, there could be a chance that people who were dissolving decide, no, 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 actually, this is a very advantageous investment. So let me undo my dissolving neuron and relock it. So you might not see everything come off the NNS. So honestly, a good pick. I think I would say it's probably 50-50.
Yeah,
This late into the sixth
that's
round,
what
that's
makes
not
it a
bad.
tough. That makes it a tough one. I mean, you could take the flip side if you want. We got it just sitting out there.
Is
If
it
you
is
want to
it
be,
sitting out there?
yeah,
Where?
less ICP is staked on the NNS than dissolves in year two. I added it on there.
Oh, did you just add it on there? I'm
No,
not
I
gonna.
put it on right before the show, but pick
Oh,
something
oh,
pick
oh,
something
oh.
more interesting. Get
Well,
get creative.
there's one. So this is sixth round, right? I can't believe this,
Coach Kyle.
Coach. The I can't believe this escaped us this whole time. It's kind of just like it's just sitting in the middle of our list here. But a ETH integration completes in year two. I mean
Ooh, I thought
that's
that was the other one I was really looking at right here for myself for this one.
so right now it's currently scoped for I think quarter three.
Mm.
And I mean, to your point about, if Bitcoin integration doesn't go well, it's not like they're going to still stick with ETH integration at the same timeline. There's going to be some key changes that they'll have to probably make. But the fact that it's key,
Key
yeah,
changes. Key chain
that's a tongue
key
twister.
key chain.
There you go. The so yeah, so I think that this is still pretty likely. Again, just it's Q3 is where they're there's the
It's a little
keychain.
Foley work. I'm trying to get you to bat at your screen like a cat now.
You got to get the laser pointer. The so yeah, so it just seems like hey, there's a lot of fluff to that schedule, right? As long as it goes live before May 10th, and I feel pretty good about that. It's going to be a key um business objective for Definity. So I love it. I'm going with it. That as my final pick, I feel like I got a second round pick in the sixth round.
Strong,
Yeah.
strong. Well, there's only two of us here, so
Yeah, I know.
there's all right. So I
Well, do you
mean,
want to
I
do
do
some
have.
over under ones?
Yeah, I
Add a
feel
few
like
like
not
price
enough
and
Kyle bait has been consumed
yeah,
while we're out here. Have you ever been ice fishing, Kyle? Have you ever gone ice fishing?
I've
That's
heard
that's
of
what
it.
this is. This is that's when you drill a hole. I grew up in the
Yep.
Midwest where it gets cold, and you drill a hole on a lake, and you sit in what's essentially an outhouse on top of that hole on a lake, and you try and trick some very chilly fish into cutting. And so that's what we were doing. We were lowering some Kyle bait down into the depths of the draft, and you
That
were like
didn't bite.
too smart to fish. All right, what do we? Yeah, I'll take a little extra side action here.
All right. Well, let's
Um,
do. You want to do like one of over under? So for high ICP price in year two and low ICP price. So for each one of those, one of us will say a number, and the other says whether or not they think the actual number will be higher or lower than that number.
All right. Well, I mean, low number. How do you want to handle that? Low number is the current low.
You want, you know, so yeah. So what was the
Why don't
current low? Like five.
let's do it this way. All right. I went first. So why don't you pick the high water mark for the next year, and I'll pick over and under on that. And that'll be kind of maybe our tiebreaker if necessary.
Let's
It'll be like
do
our
let's do high and low, and then we could do if we need it because you want an odd number of rounds. We could do maybe NNS reward percentage at year 3.
so many side bets here. Now you're
No, no.
confusing me with math. That's what's happening here. I see what's going on.
None
You're
of
just
this.
trying to get
We didn't talk about any of this pre-show, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna throw
I'm gonna
these
throw it all
wrenches
there.
at them.
All right. So high. What is your? So let's see. Do you want to pick? One of us will pick low, and then the other one of us will set low, and one of us will set
Yep.
high, and the opposite one will pick. Um, would you like to pick high or low? What's your preference?
I'll pick low.
Of course you will. Of course you would. All right. What is all right, Kyle. So you're gonna just to recap, you're gonna pick a low for the coming year, and
Yep.
I'm gonna pick an over or under on that low, and then I'm gonna pick a high, and then you're
Mhm.
gonna pick an over or under on
Yep.
that high. And then well, that feels like a lot already. Then we'll decide if there's see, I just think you're trying to confuse me with NNS staking rewards because
Okay. Okay. We'll throw
I
that
think
off.
let's all right, so you're gonna pick the low.
All right.
So let's
Here's my low. $4.75.
let me hold on. Let me look and see where we're at right now. what is what is
It's a tough one, huh? So so that would basically be saying so on May 11th, so the first day of year 2, I think it reached down at like 590. So
mhm.
I'm basically saying it's going to go another buck or so below that,
Yeah.
and yeah, you have to decide whether or not that's true, or maybe the low is already set. Maybe we're moving forward. So you got a couple things. Zone 2 again sounds pretty promising. In addition, it kind of seems like macroeconomic conditions don't seem that great, and that maybe there could be another route of crypto or stocks or market turmoil, anyways.
I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go bull.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go bull. I'm gonna go bold. So here's my belief. Here's my belief is that I do not believe we will stay under, but I believe there is the strong potential for a even more cataclysmic, or I guess in the coming 12 months, it's like a guarantee there will be a more cataclysmic event than the Luna stuff, right?
Hmm.
Like just in the macro crypto space, it's just absolutely inevitable. So while I am very optimistic for what the future holds for ICP, I also see a lot of instability and just a lot of up and down action, and I don't think it's going to rest there. But I think it could dip. I think it could dip a
Yeah.
toe in
I
there.
mean, yeah, so like the Luna type thing, right? That's like a once a year event within crypto in terms of just some complete washout,
Yeah, it's
pandemic
a
in
100 year
2020 was the same
flood that
thing.
comes every 90 days, in my
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. So that's a safe bet. So you're basically saying, "Hey, I think this is going to happen, and my only uncertainty is whether or not the price is going to get high enough that when that does happen, it's not going to bring it down to 475."
Yep.
Okay. All right. Nice. Took the under. I like that. I can be bullish in this bet. Then I don't have to
Yeah.
bet. I don't have to wish against ICP.
No, I'm not wishing against ICP. I'm just saying that it only has to touch. It doesn't have to live there.
Yeah.
So now for the
Yeah.
high.
You got to do high.
Is triple digits too much? What do you think?
Well, I don't want to sway you because I get to pick the over or the under. But if
I'm
you
not
go
saying
triple
triple
digits,
digits is a big space, is a big space. Let's go with you have said on record. Let's see it. What would Kyle do? Kyle has said on record that he thinks the natural space for an ICP token is in the sort of 30 to 40 range is kind of its
okay.
natural home. So I'm going to say 50. I'm going to say 50 is my
50
number.
for the high
So
between.
50, so that's, from where we are now-ish, that's 500% growth, over 500% growth from our current low point at the moment. So I think, it could there's a lot of numbers above that 50 that, I could
Yeah.
see. It doesn't take much of a bull run to hit that number, I don't think. I think we could very easily blow right by it, but also I think we both think there's a lot of sideways action coming in the next year in
Yeah.
general too.
Yeah, in a neutral, so my price model, right, has it probably hitting as a high of like 80 sometime in
Yeah,
the
that's
next
why that's
year.
why that's exactly
Yeah,
why
so
yeah,
you take
because
out
the
the
'80s.
macro stuff and I'm like, "Oh, definitely over." 50, you know, you know what? You gave me the bullish stance on the low. I'm going to take the bullish stance on the high as well.
I think it's the right choice.
Yeah, I'm going to take the over.
I hope you win
Yeah.
both of these for the record. I, that's
But lose the overall bet.
well, I'll just win in the rest of the space. I can lose these and still take the whole competition.
Mhm.
I'm not worried. Alright, so we'll call this our round 7.
Okay.
Do we need an NNS rewards bet of some sort, or is that maybe we'll just do maybe that's for funsies or
Okay.
something like that. So why don't you wanna how do we wanna structure, an NNS rewards? This is some good podcasting
Yeah, I
where
know.
we always figure it out, let's do it live, let's do it on air.
Well, how about this? How about, so on the dashboard, you can click on governance, I think is the link, and it'll show you the expected annual yield if you're an 8-year staker. So why don't we bet on whether or not what that number is on May 10th of next year? So it
Okay.
currently is, I think, 20.8, or within plus or minus zero point 0.1 there. Do you want to stick with that and take an over or under, or do you want a different number?
Um, I think 20.8 is a pretty maybe we'll do let's change it. How about we could change it up. We could do like Price is Right prediction rules
Oh,
for
closest
this and
to
each
without
pick.
going over.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Ooh, this is gonna be interesting. Ah, man. I wish I don't think I have time on the podcast to pull up all my analytic to see, because it gets into on May 10th of next year. There's going to be a bunch of neurons that are dissolving in, let's say, June or July of next year that won't have any voting power. So that's actually, so that could be really a drop off in the voting, a drop off in the decrease of voting power. That, ooh, this is gonna be hard. Okay,
I
who
could
who goes first?
do you wanna take like a little research break? I'll give you a little
No,
research
no, no.
break.
Let's do it. Let's do it
I could
without a
drop in a
research
little
break.
music and yeah, I just want you to tell me
Because
what you find
if
in
you
your
give me
research
if
though.
you give me if you give me like 10 minutes, I'm gonna sit and actually like model everything and to try to really figure this out. And
Don't
I think
don't
that's
threaten
against
me with a good don't threaten me with a good time.
you
That's
need it.
that's the kind of thing I have to pay for.
Yeah, I know. All right. So do you want me to go first? And then you can
Yeah.
pick whether you want $1 or, but you can't just pick the number right above my number, right?
I
I
mean, I
should get
definitely can.
I should get a plus, like a plus or minus, because
I
if I
will
go
I will
first, then you
bring
can just
I will
go.
bring I'll go first. Or if you want, I'll bring a sportsman-like approach to this. This is
No,
all
no, no, I
all in
just
good
don't want
fun.
you to, like, go, like, right above me, closest to without going over. Yeah, so I don't want you to, like, if I go 20.8, I don't want you to go 20.9.
20.9 is a good number, I think. That's not a bad spot to be.
So, yeah, you're already betting that more ICP is staked.
But I could
Um
hedge my bet here too,
oh,
is the
that's
thing. I
true.
I feel no desire to be internally consistent with my
Yeah.
various bets here.
Well, so here's the thing, all else being equal, if as much ICP comes back um onto the NNS as dissolves, you would expect the staking percentage to go down a little bit, because people who are staking are usually staking for 8 years or 4 years. So they're going to have a lot of voting power. Whereas the ICP that's dissolving off the NNS has either no voting power or very little voting power over the
Correct.
next 12 months. So that should probably factor in that you maybe want to go a little bit lower than 20.8.
Mm.
Hmm. All right. You know what? I'm going to say 20.2. That's my
Ooh.
guess. I feel like I should have even gone lower than that.
I think you should have, but I don't
Yeah.
mind. I'm gonna go with 18. It's a lucky number,
Well, why don't
and
you why
it's
don't you just do $1? Do the $1 bet for Price
Because
is
I
Right.
just promised you I would be sportsmanlike I just okay, $1.
Yeah, do the $1
No,
because then it's
no,
like you're doing the
because
over/under. You're basically doing over/under for my 20.2.
you're really, like, working the ref on this game.
Sorry.
Okay, we'll say
You do what you want. You
$1
do what you want.
because Kyle pressured Jesse into it.
Because
That's
then
what
if
we'll
it's like
play.
17%, you're gonna be like, "What the heck? I I correctly picked lower than Kyle's pick, and yet, neither of us win this bet?" You know, like
I believe
a tie
then
is like
we both lose, which is really the ultimate crypto answer to
yeah,
anything,
because
really,
we
so
all lose anyways in crypto.
Alright, I'll go sorry, official, Kyle is going 20.2 and, which I assume is being measured in Celsius, and then Jesse is going $1 because after promising to be, sportsmanlike in his approach, Kyle bullied me into taking the cheap shot. So that's what I'm going with.
It bothers me to no end when people don't like do game optimization,
Yeah.
game theory optimization. So if you went in with 18, I'd just be like, I won't be able to sleep. I will have to
Yeah.
go in and modify this document without you knowing it, just so I can sleep at night.
Yeah, that's where Google Docs recording changes gets really helpful here. Yeah, I have no doubt that when faced with a prisoner's dilemma, you murder the other prisoner. That seems very clear to me, is my takeaway from how you've approached this game.
Sir, that wasn't even an option. I'm like, it's my best choice. Trust me.
The other guy got poisoned. We don't know what happened to him. All right,
Dead men tell no
let's do a
tales.
little speaking of dead men, let's do a little bring out your dead here.
All right.
What are some of the choices that you thought about picking that you rejected? What are some of the Jesse bait you snuck onto this list? What are some of the Kyle bait that you didn't want? I'm surprised I threw US passes federal
Yeah.
cryptocurrency regulation. That was like a little bit an outside the box one. It
Hmm.
felt like there's certainly, on a long enough timeline, it's 100% guaranteed to come over time. But also 1 year seems a little fast for, government getting anything done.
Right. Yeah. The U.S. government, it's just hard to bet on productivity. So I mean, you're right that on a long enough time frame, like let's say 10 years, a decade, I would guarantee that that's going to happen. But happening now, particularly midterm elections, it just seems very iffy. So
Agreed.
yeah, I did highlight that as like one that I was going to pick if we had way more overlap. Would have been like my seventh round, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to bet on the U.S. government getting stuff done in a midterm.
Never bet on the
No.
US government. An ICP hosted SocialFi project has a viral or
Ooh,
breakout
yeah.
moment. It's a tough to measure one, I'd want it in a little wish casting happening in there. But when you and I talk about the angle of attack or surface area of attack that the ICP has, SocialFi is one of the very, very, very strongest
Hmm.
spaces too. And so it felt like that has a real potential moment for District or Discover or Catalyze having, kind of breaking out in an interesting way.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. That is an interesting one, and it's I don't know. Again, that would have put on my list of things that maybe have a chance on happening, but it's hard. You know, so far we've only seen like linear growth, at least from what I can see. So it's hard to bet on there being exponential growth in the near future.
What else we got here?
I
We've
had
got Entrepot eclipsed by another NFT exchange site.
ooh, yeah. That just seems unlikely. They've got such a great their product is right now probably the better of all the marketplace products. They've already got first mover advantage. The self minting tool seems like that's probably going to bring a whole bunch of projects onto it and make it kind of like the place to look. I would I would think if nothing else, maybe there's a move in the market to be more cross platform. So like an NFT collection can list on multiple marketplaces, but
Yeah,
it
meme
seems hard.
cakes playing around in that space. There's
Yeah.
the Terabithia bridge that Psychedelic is building. I mean, CCC continues to do really interesting growth, and we're seeing new
Hmm.
projects launch there. We're seeing, I mean, obviously, you chose launching outside of Entrepot for a combination of reasons. And not I look at the NFT marketplace space, and it's a little bit like the DEX space, right? Where there's a lot of potential for explosive growth there
Yeah.
and curious to see what comes.
Yeah, because we had the one on the Dex there, right? Dex launch tokens or Dexes launch with real exchanges. Neither of us picked that one either. I'm assuming probably the same reason is just there hasn't been a lot of activity yet, so it's hard to forecast that activity when not much has occurred yet. So,
Mhm.
although certainly that wouldn't surprise me, right? I mean, DeFi could be huge on the IC, but um, and there's certainly players with Infinity Swap and Sonic and all them, and so. But yeah, I guess in hindsight, maybe that would have been a safe pick as well. Tokens,
Too late
Dexes launch.
now. You made
Yeah,
you made your choice. Your bet is made. What are some others you had highlighted on your short list?
I had we had on our list for ICP or NNS is successfully hacked. I ended
Mm.
up not picking that primarily because I just don't know. I mean, so two reasons. Definity's hired so many cryptographers that I'm just making an assumption. I don't have the technical skills to really evaluate this, but just assuming that means that's probably one of the safer of all the um, blockchains. But also, it's probably not worth the effort yet. It's not a top 10 coin, and so until you're like Bitcoin, Ethereum, or maybe like Luna, right? What was Luna? Probably in like the top 10. Until you're that size, you're probably not really worth somebody's real concerted effort to try to hack you.
I mean, the more you describe it, the more I think, boy, I should have picked that one. That was a great choice. All right, well, those are our picks, Kyle. I'm feeling. I wish I was feeling as confident as I was at the beginning of the draft as I am now, but I do. I like your picks too. So
Yeah. Well, we spent some time building each other up and also knocking each other down. So
yeah, it's
it's
family around here. It's like familia. Why don't you read us through everything just to recap? Take us on a nostalgic journey to earlier in the podcast what we were thinking.
so
Let's
so everyone who just listened through it all, they're like, "Oh, thank goodness they're finally done." And nope, let's recap it.
for
All right,
those of you that are just tuning in.
you could have skipped all of it and just gotten to this part. All right, first round, Jesse. You have Bitcoin integration mainnet launches in year two, solid pick. I've got SNS mainnet launches in year two as well. I think those are two gimmies in my opinion. Round two, you've got ICP defends against a major outside attack. A horrible second round pick, in my opinion. But
Mm, mm,
or
mm.
you asked me to recap, not to give color commentary. Uh,
Someone is going to get a lot of clips featured a year from now when we find out who was right and who
who
was
is right?
wrong. Because I mean, what's exciting about it for me and why I think it makes such good content is we have no idea, right? Like in the
Yeah,
future, it's so unknown where it's going to be. So
yeah, that's true. And then for me in the second round, 10 plus named neurons, none of them named Kyle. Third round, for you, you have Discover will launch a product that utilizes the SNS. And then I have the NNS app gets a UI redesign or visual refresh. Fourth round, you took the hot take with C-level exec departs Definity. Good, I think still a good solid pick though. And then I went with the top floor price for an IC NFT at the start of year three is Bitcoin Flowers. And then you've got for you in round five, new blue chip NFT is added. So that's someone who's going to get over 100K in transactions, ICP transactions, 100K ICP transaction, or someone who's in the top five of all transactions. And then for me, I did that a major acquisition would occur within the IC space from an outside company. Sixth round, more ICP is staked on the NNS than what dissolves this year. So that was what you picked. And then for me, sixth round sleeper pick, I think this is a solid sixth round pick, is that ETH integration completes in year two. And then round seven, we had the over under. So for low ICP price, you took the under on $4.75. And I took the over for the high ICP price of $50 for year two. Um, and then final one was the Price is Right game with um, the staking rewards on the dashboard for the 8 year gang. I went with 20.2%, and you took the under on that. Anything below 20.2 on May 10th, 2023.
excellent. I don't want to give you more fuel for the Jesse doesn't understand sports meme that we have running here. But when you say something is a really good first round or a really good fifth round pick, that means nothing to me. I have absolutely no idea what makes a good second round versus fifth round in terms of the chess game strategy of psychologically unraveling your opponent, which I think is the idea. I'm not so sure.
Yeah, well, it's like Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round, so that was a really good draft pick, right? If they got anyone who got Tom Brady in the 1st round would have been a phenomenal draft pick, but the Patriots picked him in the 6th round, way back in like 1902. It feels like so there you go. So it's relative, right, to the picking order.
Tom Brady's a shortstop or a power forward? Am I getting these? He's a three-pointer, right? Am I
He's a
getting
three
these? Am
pointer.
I getting am I getting
He's
these?
he's that guy with the broom playing ice curling.
Hey, curling is supposed to be super fun. My dad just picked up curling as a habit, as like an activity. And and I've been
I
hearing
don't
I've been
even.
hearing I've been hearing about all the strategery of, how to successfully curl. A lot of sweeping involved, which
Yeah.
seems like cleaning work to me. Doesn't seem like fun. Seems like cleaning. Seems like
He's
cleaning on ice, but
he's like, I will not broom the house, but I will broom this ice.
yeah, yeah. Well, maybe I could get him to clean his house if I throw large stones across the
Stones.
floor, attempting to, and he's like trying to sweep up around them. All right, let's slip in a little Ask Neurotic here. I've got a question from MJR M Riga, who asks, what business is best suited to launch on the internet computer? Are we seeing new businesses look to establish from start on the platform without grant money from Definity? What are the limitations of the platform that it needs to overcome for this to be the go to place for developers to build on? I think this is a great question, and it really dovetails nicely with the themes of looking forward onto year two of the internet computer. So, what are the businesses that are best suited on the internet computer? So, the businesses that are best suited, in my opinion, free, no, not financial advice, developer advice. This
Ooh.
is developer advice because you don't need to be certified to give that out. So the businesses that are best developed to suit up on the internet computer are businesses that are built on the existing core strengths of ICP. So when you build on ICP, they have created this foundation with a ton of different functionality. And the more you are able to not build things yourself and to take advantage of the tools and the resources that are built into the internet computer, the more successful you will be. And so that means applications that are able to take advantage of the no transaction, no gas fees, that are able to take advantage of the subnet hosting and on-chain storage, applications that are able to use the built-in web hosting instead of being reliant on AWS or Google Cloud
Mm.
services, and then applications that are able to deeply integrate those pieces into each other, as well as take advantage of things like the Bitcoin integration and the SNS and those pieces. So I think the big one is Socialfy. Socialfy. I really, really am excited to see what people are able to build in terms of using money in the social space is so fundamentally broken in Web 2 right now with the way Instagram does it, the way Twitter does it. I mean, there's just so many more interesting ways that the flow of money could be handled in the social space. So I think that is a really exciting one. And then I think gaming is the other space that I see a ton of options. We did a Twitter space last week talking about gaming on the internet computer, and there are challenges for sure for building on it. But I think that ability of loot boxes and actually using the blockchain ownership model, replacing the existing model of, oh, here's, a skin you got and things like that. That offers really interesting abilities to rewrite the rules of finance and commerce in these spaces. And so I think those are the spaces I see a lot of potential. What are the biggest limitations for the platform? I think growing fast enough, getting there. We're talking
Mm.
about SNS. I feel like I talk to a lot of developers and waiting for SNS, waiting for token standards, waiting for maturity in the platform so that all the pieces developers are needing and getting there as fast as possible. I think those are the big, big, big questions. And then just I would say ICP is making a big bet about what the future of the internet looks like, but the internet is so unknown, in terms of where we thought we'd be 10 years ago, where we thought we'd be now. The NNS offers the ability for ICP to be responsive, but maybe things go off in a really unknown direction, and you never know what's coming down the pipe. And so ICP makes a big bet about what the future is going to be, but we don't know. It's all unknown, right? And so we're just trying to hedge those bets. But those are the places I see real potential for growth, as well as see the risks.
You nailed it. Nailed it. Nothing really to add other than I'm excited. Again, going back to we've mentioned a few times the innovators playground and how people can take different components of the IC and combine them into unique products that aren't possible on any other chain or web platform. So really looking forward to seeing how these play out.
Yeah, me too. Let's do some recommendations here, Kyle. What you have a recommendation locked and loaded for us
Oh, I
here?
do. Yeah, I'm a little
Oh, I'm
tired
I'm ex-
today. You
I'm
want? Yeah,
excited.
you know where I'm going with this. So I took the kids last night. My three daughters and my wife. We went and saw AJR, who's a kind of like a what would you call him? Like alternative hip hop, maybe. Whatever you would put 21 Pilots in, whatever category that is. That's kind of where AJR sits. Um, Phenomenal concert. It's their OK Orchestra tour concert. I love their music to begin with, but then the performance was just phenomenal. I'm a person who loves to go see concerts and have a high bar for bands, and they jumped so far over that bar. It was like probably one of my top five favorite concerts I've ever seen. There's so much performance act. There's this great visual effects that they use, with like LCD screens. They have the very innovative uses of treadmills within the act. A lot of comedy, a lot of like ode to some, to like their music. They actually have like a part of the performance where they walk you through actually how they make a song, and it's just really creative. It gets loved it, phenomenal concert. Really tired today because of it, but the kids loved it. It was their first concert, so they started off with like a really high bar for future bands.
Now, do they know all the words to AJR songs and stuff like that? So you guys are like singing along and stuff like that.
Yeah, to at least to the ones that are free on Amazon Music for the
Hmm.
not non unlimited plan. But yeah, AJR plays pretty often in our house,
Nice.
and so they know it pretty well. It
Does
was a
AJ?
Christmas gift.
I've never heard of the band AJR before this moment, so I'm gonna go watch some AJR music videos when we get off this call. Do you have any? What are the top hits I should be telling Siri to play for me?
So Bang is probably one of the top ones. Sober Up is like the original hit. Um, let's see. There's a good one that's I think it's called I'm Weak or Weak maybe. Um, there's one that's not really a hit that I really love, which is
Yeah, give
Come
me the
Hang
deep
Out.
cut the deep
Yeah,
cuts. What
come
is it?
hang out. Come hang out is yes. That's not one that you're gonna find on the radio, but that's a really good song in my opinion. They have a lot of like collaborations. Like what was the one they did one with Weezer? I'm trying to think of what was the name of the song. It's one of those things like as you think about songs, you're like, oh, what was that one? They have one called Record Player with I can't remember the female lead, but that's really catchy. So
All right, well,
yeah,
I'll go educate myself about AJR, and I will. Are they like BTS? Is that kinda like the vibe of what they're doing?
no, 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 they're not like it's not like dance so much, like, that's not choreography danced, they're like an alternative band, so, like, if
Mhm,
again, like, if you went and saw, let's say, Imagine Dragons, it's kind of a show like that, except for they do a lot more performance, they bring a ton of energy, like, that's the one
mhm.
thing is their lead singer, is like, he looks a lot like Arthur Falls, honestly, like, when you look at him, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, Arthur Falls is on the stage," and, I mean, he's
Maybe
just
he is. Maybe the
maybe
A in AJR stands for
for
Arthur. I don't
Arthur.
I don't know.
And then he's just all over the stage dancing, like a Mick Jagger like character. Just a lot of fun. And so the other two band members are his brothers. The one Ryan, who's the R in it, he's kind of got like a dorky, nerdy kind of vibe to him, but just really funny. He's bringing a lot of energy. It's a phenomenal concert. I just highly recommend it. So pull up the OK Orchestra tour and see if they're coming to a town near you, and I highly recommend going to see them.
Was it like a state? What kind of venue did you see him in? Like a stadium show?
So yeah, it's like an outdoor venue with
Mhm.
they had like chairs, but we bought lawn tickets. So you bring a blanket, you're sitting up high on the hill, and so it worked out well for the kids because then they didn't have to be behind. Like we could kind of go way back to where they can then actually see this, the stage or the LCD screens that are broadcasting what's going on the stage.
They're coming to California late June, so maybe I could go see 'em then. That sounds fun. Have you seen the movie, Turning Red? Have you seen that yet?
No, I haven't.
The
No.
new Disney movie? The plot of the movie really revolves around the group of girlfriends going to see a band that they
Hmm.
like a K-pop style band that they
Okay.
idolize. So, super good movie, really recommend not my recommendation, but recommend
That was
it.
that was actually your recommendation a few
A couple
podcasts ago.
yeah, that's
Maybe
what I
one of the early ones.
yeah, I miss going to live music. I used to do it a lot more. Having the baby really gets in the way, unfortunately,
Yeah.
and living through a pandemic
Yeah, that didn't
really
help.
gets in the way of going to, but there's a lot of great shows in Los Angeles because so many
Oh, I
entertainment
bet.
acts are based here, so I used to go to see a lot more stand-up comedy than live bands, but, I went and saw one of my favorite bands during, like, the Hot Vax summer break. I went and saw a band I really like called, Jukebox the Ghost,
Okay.
and one of the band members was out sick with COVID during it, and so they did like an acoustic set where they played all the songs that band member hates and never lets them play live, and then
That's awesome.
they called him on speakerphone to sing his part for one of his big songs that he's the lead on, and having someone sing while experiencing COVID over speakerphone not the best, I have to say, all things considered. That respiratory disease really gets in the way of hitting those high notes, so
He's like, "It's gonna take me 2 days longer to recover from COVID because of you guys doing this one bit."
exactly.
Yeah.
So, my recommendation, Kyle, I went and saw another movie
Oh my
in the
goodness.
theater. I know. I'm trying to be careful. I kept my mask on in the theater the whole time, but, have you ever heard of, Marvel movies? Are you familiar with superhero movies? Is that
This this is gonna surprise you, but I think I've maybe seen 1 Marvel movie.
surprise is not the, response there, I would say expect alright,
Yeah.
so, Kyle, there's these things called comic book movies, right? So I went and saw the new Doctor Strange movie, which is directed by
Doctor
Sam
Str
Raimi.
Doctor Strange is comic book?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
All the Marvel
Oh,
movies are comic books.
I didn't know what is it. Oh, maybe I'm thinking, oh, you know who I'm thinking of is Doctor Who. Okay,
You're
never mind.
thinking of Doctor Who.
Move
Yeah,
on, move on.
that's okay, that's okay. Well, and so Benedict Cumbersnatch,
Oh, great,
plays
great actor.
yeah. So Benedict Cumberbatch plays Stephen Strange in it. It's the sequel. I actually really like the original. It's a little, I think, of a hidden gem in the Marvel universe. I think the visual is really great. Performances are reasonably strong. It's a creative interpretation of what an American accent sounds like. That varies scene to scene. But this sequel is directed by Sam Raimi, who directed the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies,
Hmm.
and he directed Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 and Evil Dead 3, which what should have been called Medieval Dead was the original title for it,
Hmm.
with Bruce Campbell, who I just adore. And so he's back, and it's kind of a horror tinged movie. And I had such a good time. I thought this movie was super, super fun. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but I found the movie uh, genuine, really, really entertaining. And there's been it's gotten kind of mixed notices and reviews from people, but I think a lot of that is people don't know how to have fun. And this movie has a lot of Sam Raimi taking superhero characters and smashing them together like a 4-year-old as hard as
Hmm.
possible and breaking all of his toys. Because when you do stuff in a multiverse, there can be kind of no consequences for it. But I thought the movie is silly and fun and just kind of a good time. I really really enjoyed it and had a really fun time and visually really creative. And Bruce Campbell, who stars in the original Evil Dead movies, and he makes an appearance in almost everything Sam Raimi does, just a little appearance. So like in the Spider-Man movies, he's like a bouncer, and things
Mm.
like that. He has a small cameo. And then through the course of the movie, he ends up beating the crap out of himself, which is what you always want to see. Sam Raimi's career is really built on torturing Bruce Campbell is
Mm.
really kind of the core center of the NNS is the center of ICP. Torturing Bruce Campbell is the beating heart of a good Sam Raimi movie, and we get that here. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Great cameos, really fun, super creative, good third act that isn't just fighting a beam of light going up into the sky. So I endorse it.
Are you looking for multiverse movies, or is it just or maybe all movies now are multiverse, but the last 2 weeks you've recommended a multiverse movie.
Well, this universe's Jesse is really into multiverse stuff right now, but
Uh,
maybe, maybe I'll revert. I think it's just kind of in the ether right now. But I like multiverse stuff. I've got a few favorite multiverse TV shows I've really enjoyed over the years. And I
mm.
have a real soft spot for actually like one of my real favorite subgenres is the time loop movie. So
Oh
like
yeah.
Groundhog Day,
Hmm.
or Edge of Tomorrow, which is a Tom Cruise sci-fi movie. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Oh, it's so good. It's one of my absolute. If you enjoy watching Tom Cruise die, I cannot recommend this movie enough because you watch Tom Cruise get shot in the face over and over and over again, and it is really fun.
Oh,
So
that
yeah,
sounds
it's Edge of Tomorrow. It's like ID4 crossed with Groundhog Day is kind of the
okay.
premise, and co-stars Emily Blunt, who's fantastic in it as
Oh yeah,
well.
yeah.
Really good. Yeah,
Mary
really good cast.
Poppins.
Exactly. So these
Cool.
are
Good
these are
recommendations.
these are some good recommendations here. Well, let me say thank you, Kyle, for joining us for episode 11, and welcome to year 2 and zone 2, right?
Zone
Should
2,
we
year
I feel
2.
like we didn't touch on that at all. Do you want to officially welcome us to zone 2 before we close out the show?
Sure. We're in zone 2, which is less ICP dissolving off the NNS and hopefully less cell pressure on the ICP token. So welcome everyone, and we're firmly in it now. Because Neuron 4013 was the kind of the first one. It's already dispersed its ICP, so we're dead smack in it. So welcome, congrats, we made it.
Welcome to Zone 2, and thanks for listening to episode 11 of the Neurotic Podcast. You can find Kyle on Twitter at Kyle Langham. You can find me on Twitter at ICPJesse. Tweet at us. Tell us why all of our predictions were completely wrong or completely right. Place your bets on who is going to reign
Ooh.
as king of the NNS and champion. We'll have to come up with some sort of pennant or some sort of bragging rights to go along with this here and let things get extra competitive. Tweet us at NeuroticPod. You can find show notes, links to everything we discuss for every episode that we record on our website at neuroticpod.com. And please subscribe in your podcast player of choice. And we'll see you back here next week. Say goodbye, Kyle.
Goodbye.
Bye. I worked for Current TV, which was Al Gore's TV station startup in San Francisco.
Yeah, that
So I
was the
worked
whole
there.
user. I mean, that was like YouTube before there was YouTube, right?
Well, yeah. So more specifically, YouTube launched while I was working at
Ah,
or maybe they launched after Current TV had been founded, but before I started working there. But yeah, the idea of user submitted video was kind of so. Current TV, for those that don't remember, was a TV station that Al Gore co-founded with a team of other people, and it was designed to be essentially internet video before internet video was really a thing
mhm.
on the on cable. And so the idea was to have user submitted videos and get people to do short form documentaries. And instead of doing like a traditional TV show architecture, scheduling with like 30 minutes or 60-minute episodes and stuff like that, everything was these little individual segments that would be played throughout the day, and they would be sort of short format documentaries on a whole bunch of different topics. So I worked in IT.
Hmm.
and like help desk support. And while I was there, so I joined right. My first week was the 1 year anniversary of the TV station launching. And so at the end of my first week, they had a company wide booze cruise around the San Francisco Bay where I got to have some fun taking shots with Al Gore stories, which was kind of fun.
Oh,
And
nice.
then yeah, we won an Emmy for a documentary about Mogadishu that we produced while we were there. And then after I left, but what most people remember Current TV for is getting one of our reporters basically crossed into North Korea illegally on foot, and then was arrested and
Mm.
was held by the North Korean government for month or 2, I think, something like that. And eventually, it kind of became this face saving thing. And Bill Clinton flew over and retrieved the reporter and producer that were
Oh,
working there. And so it was a bit.
Bill wasn't president at that time,
He
right?
wasn't president. No, no,
Okay.
he wasn't president. But it was sort of, it boiled down to sort of a respect thing, showing respect to the North Korean government, getting a president, getting that recognition
Yeah.
of you were wrong. And, so I was glad, obviously glad that, all those people got home safe to their families. But it was a really interesting place to work, kind of a disaster of a startup in the end.
Yeah,
But it
what
was
was the behind the scenes, like, what caused the demise? Was it just not there's no product market fit, or was it actually just not really well ran, or
It was a combination of things. I think having a cable channel was a really interesting way to start the business, but then YouTube launched and you can kind of be like, "Oh, YouTube launched. There's the future of video." And you're sitting with this other thing being like, "Well, that's not us. That's not what
Yeah.
we're doing here." So, they decided to compete with Facebook, and so they were making money and successfully running a cable channel, but it was streaming in HD, and accessing the content on the internet was never like a top priority.
Mm.
And then they launched a like Facebook competing social network, which was all the rage, in the heady days of
Oh, yeah.
2007, 2008. And so they launched a competing with Facebook social network, which in retrospect, obviously was a terrible idea in terms of let's go compete with Facebook and kind of go that direction. And so, I'm sure there's a multi-universe, parallel universe out there where they competed with YouTube and became the future of the internet. But instead, it was a very formative experience for me. I came in as an level. It was my second job out of college. I came in as an entry level help desk technician, and then became help desk manager. I helped launch offices in London and Italy remotely. I was helping oversee software development for custom software to broadcast. And then one of the really kind of technologically interesting things was, we had like a mission control style, broadcast center that actually was like sending the signal out, live to feed all the cable channel, right? The cable
Oh,
feed.
cool.
And so we were the first station that was broadcasting live from disk. And so most TV stations at the time, like Betamax tapes, are then played, and that Betamax tape playing is what is actually being streamed out on to create the cable channel feed. And we were actually streaming live off of like a network storage system, and we were the first people doing that, and it caused all sorts of problems. But yeah, we did an Italian language version. We launched in London, and I was helping oversee remotely supporting those. They never sent me there. I was always very
Oh,
irritated by
man.
that fact. I know.
You just had to support them.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of 2 a.m. phone calls from the other side from
Uh,
Europe to help keep that system live. But it was very exciting, and the people I worked with were so interesting and have gone on to all sorts of really cool, interesting,
oh,
different
I
things.
bet.
And so, yeah, and
I mean, they're
so a
kinda
lot of them,
pioneers early in a new technology.
yeah. So the bunch of the people I worked with actually went to Twitter. We had like a partnership with Yahoo Video. That's how long ago this was. I mean, the to place it in time, the iPhone launched while I was working there, because I remember doing
Mhm.
some of the initial setup for the iPhone on like our exchange backed system and things like that.
I guess in hindsight, really what they were trying to do was lower the quality of the content, right? Because it's now more home video, more, you know, you know, not as
I wouldn't say
bore.
lower the content, I would say lower the bar for create being able
Oh,
to create and get an audience.
right,
The problem was they just really misunderstood, YouTube. I think you can look at
right.
the inflection point of what it's not like video on the internet didn't exist before YouTube, but it functionally didn't exist before
Well, because it
YouTube,
wasn't as
right?
convenient. YouTube brought convenience, right?
Right, YouTube brought storage, right? That was the whole
Right. Oh,
thing
that's
was you
true.
had to
Yeah.
do file storage on the internet was so expensive back then. And
Mm.
so to host, high res, high def video, this is just around the time HD was becoming standardized
Mm.
too. And so we were broadcasting in standard def, not in high def as well, because there wasn't even the throughput for doing high def off of disk that way at the time.
Oh, so
But it
problem.
was a very formative tech experience for me. It was a big management experience for me. That was I managed the help desk, getting familiar with corporate policy and doing that,
Yeah.
overseeing, a couple hundred computers, working in like the specialty video space as well. So all of those things. And then actually I founded my beer blog while I was working there.
Okay.
And so I started my beer blog that then led to me founding a brewery and going independent. And so all of those pieces sort of
Interesting.
come together. Yeah. Yeah, I worked on a short documentary about home brewing actually that I don't think ever got finished or saw the light of day. But I interviewed like the guy that owned the local homebrew store who gave some real choice quotes about how you can taste tight ass. Don't be a tight asshole when you're home brewing and you can really taste that tight sphincter is this allowed? Am I allowed to put this in the podcast? Is this too blue?
Hey,
I'm not
you edit
sure.
it. You can put what you want in there. Just kind of like with your career, like you're talking about current TV, and I feel like if you told me that you were a plumber and you worked at Tom Cruise's house to install a toilet, I'd be like, yeah, that makes complete. Like your career has just been so both what's the word? Not hodgepodge, but
Eclectic.
like eclectic. Yeah,
Yeah.
eclectic and interesting.
Yeah.
Like, it's like that's the one common theme behind everything is I'm like, this is so interesting. Like, nothing you did was boring.
Maybe we should arrange to have you talk to my parents about this take on my career. Maybe that would be useful. Yeah,
Your
before
dad didn't dream of you, hawking, taco NFTs?
I think there's a lot to unpack there that I don't really have time to get into here with my parents' expectations and whether or not selling NFTs is meeting them. But, yeah, I was doing, like, IT tech support consulting with a focus on Mac stuff when I first moved to San Francisco,
Mm.
and so I worked with, one of the home clients I worked with was a guy named Hal Riney, who is famous in the design world, and
Hmm.
he was the voice of Ronald Reagan's Good Morning in America TV advertisements.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, we're gonna have
Interesting.
to back up here. You have to understand who Ronald Reagan is for this
Nah,
story to make
I
any
know that.
sense. You need to know what a television ad is for this to make any sense. Um, but yeah, I think I don't know. You get bored. You want to do new things. You want to be excited. For me, I've
Yeah.
always found that I'm very driven by being entrepreneurial. I'm driven by being really personally invested in
Mhm.
what I'm working on. And I'm sort of driven by my passions and excitement. And so every manager I've ever had in my employee review has said, yeah, we can really tell the difference when you're excited about a project and when you're not excited about a project. And I'm like, I agree. That is accurate feedback for employee Jesse experience. Uh, but then that's why working on ICP I find is such a strong fit is it's something so exciting and interesting and so dynamic and there's so much happening. And I like the stakes being high. I like that
Mhm.
where the stakes are, changing the way the internet is hosted for the future. That's the level I want to be playing at too.
Yeah, yeah. No, it all makes sense.
How
So,
about you? What's the most interesting job? What's the like oddest job you've had?
my first, career. Well, I answered two things. One was I was cart boy at a really nice golf course one summer.
Like a
That was
caddy kind of
not a
thing
caddy.
or
No, no, no.
like selling drinks
I cleaned the
or
carts. It was basically
okay.
and like drove them around and stuff. But really, what we did was we just went and washed golf clubs so we could get tips. But that
Mhm.
was a fun job. So that's maybe the most fun job I did. But the most interesting or most odd was
So are
my
you like a Bagger Vance, like a Will Smith and Bagger Vance type? Is that
if
what you were doing?
yeah, except for the movie just kind of ends as me at being a mediocre golfer that has like no story to it. So sure. Um, but my first job out of college, I was a controls engineer for a company that made a feed enzyme that they put on chicken feed and turkey feed.
Hmm,
And so I would actually go to all these feed mills that are dotted throughout, the southern states, southern eastern states, the Midwest. Basically, I'd say like I'd fly into like let's say like Birmingham and then
sure.
drive 2 hours to the middle of nowhere. In these towns where there's like one restaurant, and when you walk into that restaurant, the whole place stops talking because they've never had an outsider in the last like year come to that restaurant. And but yeah, so
Big city Kyle is here.
yeah. Me coming in with my, uh, I don't know, my Timberland work boots or something like that. They're like, hey, this is Red Wing territory. Um, but yeah, so that was going to these feed mills was just something I'll never experience again because it's just a
Mm,
weird environment, I guess. It smells. There's a lot of social. I mean, you want to learn like social dynamics. Like there's a lot of race stuff that happens, a lot of gender stuff,
sure.
and you kind of learn these like the ways in which where those lines are clearly drawn and how that impacts kind of like the social dynamics. It's really interesting
Mhm.
going back to it. So probably
I mean,
my favorite.
I'm gonna bring this back to crypto here, which is, people are different, right?
Yeah.
People are so wild. I mean, you and I are boring whitish men, and we apologize for that. And it are the worst. And but one of the things I really like about crypto is the incredible diversity of experience of the people that you talk to, in the community. And so you'll be having a conversation on Twitter, and one of the guys you're talking to is a retired guy living in Texas, and then there's a 15-year-old in Pakistan making like really great points about governance. And
Yeah.
so no one knows you're a dog on the internet, but it also kind of creates this meritocracy of ideas, which is one of the things I really like about it.
Yeah, I always laugh because I've spent I don't know close to probably 20 years now building a career, 15 years, 20 years building a career, and then you get into like crypto or anything on the internet, and it doesn't matter. None of that carries
Doesn't matter.
over. None of it carries over. Somebody's 15 and then tweeting before they go off to high school, they have as much voice and respect as somebody who's mid career and stuff like that. So.
You had one more job you were gonna tell me about.
Oh, I was just gonna say for that chicken feed place, I had to go to Italy once, and so part of it was we installed equipment into these feed mills, and I had to bring back samples to make sure the sample that worked. And I was trying to go through customs, and I had to claim that I had chicken feed in my bag, and they thought it said chicken feet, and
Sure.
so I got pulled off of
Delicious.
delicious chicken feet, and
Delicious chicken feet. I'm not joking. Chicken feet are have you ever had chicken feet? Chicken feet are
no,
genuinely delicious. Oh yeah, so it's a common dim sum Chinese
mm,
item. So they're steamed, and then
ooh,
they're steamed until they're essentially like jelly, and then they're usually tossed in like a sauce and served warm. And so they look like chicken feet, but they're essentially pure collagen. And then you eat, and then you have like little tiny bones left over. But they are
hmm.
unironically, genuinely delicious, super, super high in collagen, good for your skin, really nutritious. And they make good chicken stock too.
Well, that must be why the Italian customs officials were not happy with me trying to take chicken feet out of
Sure.
the country, and it was a big misunderstanding. Got pulled into like the little side office of
Mm.
customs and like got drilled down, and finally I realized, oh, it's feed what you're gonna feed the chickens.
And that's allowed. That
Yeah,
enzymatically
they were okay with it.
activated
Yeah,
chicken feed was okay that you're
yeah.
taking home for
They're like, get this out
scientific
of here. Yeah,
testing. Yeah, you're
yeah,
like, this
get it
is
out of here.
we thought we have real feet-based issues that we have to be dealing with here in
Yeah,
security.
you Americans are always snuggling out our chicken feet.
Yeah, hands are fine, knees are cool, but feet
The
are not.
feet.
Not cool. Yeah, one of my first jobs, I was a busboy at a deli, and a line cook with a heroin problem held his knife against my throat on his first
Jeez.
day as a joke, as a goof. And I was like, he later got fired for not coming to work because of his, drug problems.
As one does.
But that was a real introduction to the hospitality industry.
It's so oh, man. That was his first day or your first day?
My first day. That was
Oh
my first day. I was
gosh.
15 years old working at
Yeah.
a little corner deli. Yeah. Where they hand sliced all the corned beef. So,
When I was 15, no, I was 14. That's the youngest you can work
mhm.
in Maryland, and I got a job as a dishwasher at a restaurant. And I
Mhm.
remember like I was a 14-year-old kid, and they had this big like pot of mashed potatoes, and I would like walk by and just stick my finger in it and like eat some mashed potatoes. And I never
Gross.
thought, yeah, I never thought, I didn't really like. I was like 26, and like I woke up one morning and was like, wait a second, that is the grossest thing somebody could do, and I was doing that. And like I was a 14-year-old kid, I didn't really know the
I don't
difference.
think the training at their job was nearly you're not serve safe certified is my big
There
takeaway
was
from this. You
zero training. It
Yeah,
was,
that's
"Here's
clear.
dishes, they need to be clean." I mean, there's all these, like, child labor laws, right? And in this restaurant, I quit after, 3 months,
Sure.
and one of my reasons was the owner was like, "Hey, what are you doing? Like, you're leaving us high and dry." And I said, "Well, I'm not even making minimum wage." And he's like, "Well, I was getting around to giving you minimum wage." And I was like, "Well, when should I expect minimum wage?" like, like, at what point, this restaurant owner's like, "This 14-year-old kid's stupid, and he's going to work for half of minimum wage and not call me out on it."
I think I was getting like 5.25 an hour or something like that,
Yeah,
which
that
was
was.
more than minimum wage at the time. I think
Oh,
minimum wage
okay.
was like 4.75 in
Yeah, I remember
Wisconsin,
those days. Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, but you tell kids that today and they don't believe any of it.